as a young guy looking for success in every aspect of life, one of the worst things you can do, and I truly believe this, is subscribe to this winter arc narrative. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why and what you should do instead if your goal is long-term success. So it's probably 6:30. I just got back from the gym, took a shower, climbing up this mountain now to get a better view of the sunrise for this video. I was going to get up earlier, or I should have gotten up earlier, but I forgot about daylight saving. So a little bit past sunrise, but it's all right. We'll make do. But like I was saying, if your goal is long-term success, but you also want to live this, luxurious lifestyle that you see portrayed online, which is the reason you probably got into online business in the first place, so that you could first and foremost provide for your family, but also, travel the world, making six figures online, driving supercars, going to yacht parties, eating at Michelin 3-star restaurants, all of that. If you do want to live that lifestyle and you don't want to go broke in 10 years, then Winter Arc is definitely not for you. Winter Arc is not the key to accomplishing those goals, and I genuinely believe that Winter Arc could be detrimental to your long-term success, to your future, to your mindset, and to your work ethic. And you're probably thinking, bro, how can Winter Arc be detrimental to my mindset and work ethic? That's literally the whole point, right? The whole point is to log in. And that's what I thought at first too, until I asked myself this one simple question that completely changed my perspective. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you that question. I'm going to reveal the question that changed my perspective and explain what to do instead of Winter Arc and why Winter Arc is probably doing you more harm than good. Made it to the top. As you can see, there's no sunrise at all. There's just no sunrise. Usually it's a beautiful view from up here. I'll put up a video really quickly. All right, changed my location because there's no good sunrise. There's no point in being all the way up there. I couldn't find a good setup, so came down here. But let me give some context to this video really quickly. So it was about a month ago, early October, and I was really looking forward to Winter Arc. I was excited when the days started getting shorter and the autumn leaves started falling down all around me. It was that time of year where it wasn't cold, but it was by no means warm. The mornings were foggy and the air was nice and crisp all throughout the day. And there's just a certain aura in the atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it, but if you know, you know. And it had me excited, right? And I was here on campus. Most of the students were excited as well, but not for the same reasons that I was excited, right? They were excited because, Halloween parties were coming up. It was almost the end of the first semester. It was almost Thanksgiving and then Christmas break where they could go home and do absolutely nothing, right? But I was excited because it was Winter Arc. It was time to lock in, It's time to wake up at 3 a.m. every single morning, go to the gym 3 times a day, and just 10x my outputs and scale my business to the moon, right? That's what I was excited for. I was cutting off all distractions, and I was already starting to ramp up my outputs over the span of a couple weeks. But as I was doing all of this, I got a little bit caught up in the motivational videos and the reels, and they began to fuel me. And this was a problem for 2 reasons. Number one, trying to 10x my outputs wasn't sustainable. But number 2, even if it was, the reason I was doing it shouldn't have been because of Winter Arc. I mean, yeah, I could have kept it up for a little while and completed the Winter Arc and done that those however many months. But as the weather started to get warmer and the winter started to leave, the new growth started to come in and it was spring, the reason for me doing everything would have vanished with the winter, right? And I would have found myself in a strange place where I would have been lacking the motivation because the thing that was fueling me was now gone. What should have been fueling me instead of the whole idea of Winter Arc was the reason I started all of this in the first place, which is my why. And that's what should be fueling you as well, your why. Luckily, before I got too deep in, I stumbled across this video. And it was a clip from a podcast. I honestly can't remember which podcast it was, but the host asked this question. And this is the one question that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that completely changed my perspective and helped me remember that my why is what should have been fueling me instead of Winter Arc. So I'm just going to ask you this question and run through this same exercise with you. Ready? If I were to ask you, what are the chances that you make $1 million this year? What would your answer be? Right? So what would your answer be? You can think of an actual answer in your head to that question. And people usually will say 0% chance or 1% chance maybe. right? Because it's just unrealistic for the average person, which it makes sense, right? It makes sense to give an answer like that. Now, I'm going to preface this question and I'm going to set the stage a little bit. And then I'm going to ask you the same question again. If you don't make $1 million this year, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your significant other, everybody you love is going to die. So that's the little caveat. And if I ask you the same question again, what are the chances you make $1 million this year? Now, what would your answer be? Right? And in this example, in this little exercise in the podcast that they went over, people's answers went up significantly. People would be like, "Oh, I do whatever it takes, 100% chance. There's no way I'm going to let that happen." And it really puts it into perspective, in my opinion, because what really changed? The goal didn't change. The time frame didn't change. What changed is your why, right? Which is why it's so powerful. If everyone you loved was going to die, if you didn't make $1 million this year, then you would have a sense of urgency. You wouldn't wake up and be like, "Oh, I think I'm going to scroll TikTok for a little bit," right? You would take action immediately. Now, this is an extreme example, obviously, and of course, your loved ones aren't going to die if you don't make $1 million this year. But if that were the case, then failure wouldn't be an option. And that's the moral of this story. That's the point of this question. And that's the point of this whole exercise. When failure isn't an option in your mind, you'll find a way to accomplish a lot more than if failure was an option in your mind, right? So you need to find a why where failure isn't an option. And when you do, you'll find a way to accomplish what once seemed impossible. And if your why is because, "Oh, winter arc, gotta lock in," then you're not going to make it very far, right? It's the same thing with people who set their New Year's resolutions and quit before the end of January because it was too much to handle. If you don't have a real driving factor, then you aren't going to make it very far. You're setting yourself up for failure. And that's exactly what will happen if you allow winter arc to be your fuel. So instead of committing to winter arc for the next few months, find your why and commit to that for the rest of your life. That's all I got for you. That's all I got in this video. And that's my take on this whole winter arc thing. If you do want to find your why, if you want to find your purpose and you want to find your calling and you're struggling to do that, I made a video on that exact topic and how I found and figured out what I believe to be the meaning of my life and the key to happiness. It'll be the first link in the description. So go check that out if you want to find your why. But thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go make some eggs, but I will see you in the next one. God bless.